Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from Brick by Brick, and today we have Disney Series 2. Set number 71024 for anyone who cares, but this was released in May 2019, 3 years after the first one. And, it was also an 18-figure series. The packaging is different this time. It's this taller packaging that they've kind of switched to for CMF, starting with the LEGO Movie 2 series, and I guess kind of Unikitty, but the Unikitty packages were slightly different still. It's decent looking packaging. I think the size makes it a little bit less visually interesting than the original series. I feel like they should expand the design vertically and not just cut it off here. I hope maybe they'll do that with future series, and the reason they didn't here was because they were kind of, I don't know, still in the process of switching when they were designing the packaging. I don't know, maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm just hopeful. I think this package does look worse than the LEGO Movie 2 one, but it's okay. The leaflet is folded up really tight and really small, which makes it kind of a pain to unfold. But it's got the same orientation as the other one. The actual dimensions are a little bit different, but it's fine looking, and on the back it just shows you how to build some of the more complicated characters. The other thing that's interesting in this series is that they returned to using extra pieces with the new packaging from the LEGO Movie 2, and also continue using it here, so I will point out during the review where certain figures come with extra parts. First up in the series we have Steamboat Willie Mickey, and this is based on his appearance in the Steamboat Willie cartoon, which was the birth of Mickey Mouse as we know him today. And this figure is pretty good looking. They call him Vintage Mickey officially, and this is kind of reduced in uniqueness by the fact that the Steamboat Willie set came out at pretty much the same time too. However, this one is different. He does come with a ship's wheel as an accessory, which is only available here and in the Steamboat Willie set, that's kind of cool. The big difference between this one and the Steamboat Willie set version is the color scheme. If we pull up that one, he's got silver printing on his legs. This one doesn't. So this one's actually a little bit more accurate to the cartoon. I think the big difference that I love on this one compared to this one is the fact that he doesn't have the metallic silver on the top of the hat. He has the black, which the black is more accurate, and it definitely looks more iconic, and I feel like having it replaced with silver kind of makes it a little bit weird. But the head mold is good. The dual molding works really well. The nose is printed, so sometimes it'll be a little bit off, but and in fact, on the first one of these, I got 2 of this particular CMF. On the first one, the nose wasn't great, but on the second one, it was better. And the legs are pretty good looking. Again, they're dual molded, and the shoes are just printed on. So the shoes are a slightly different shade. They're not as opaque as the solid white colored plastic, but it's not too bad, and I think that it works out pretty well, and this is a pretty good looking figure. It's just a little bit less desirable if you already have the Steamboat Willie set. And to go with Vintage Mickey, we have Vintage Minnie, and this is another good looking figure, but also very similar to the Steamboat Willie set looking figure. Again, the difference here is just that she lacks silver that the set version contains. So the set version has her skirt printed in silver, as well as her shoes and the little flower up there. This flower on this hat is not printed in silver, so it's just plain old white, and that works. I actually don't mind the silver on the flower, like I do the hat for the Steamboat Willie Mickey being in silver. This is fine, and it works. She comes with a life preserver, which is kind of a lame accessory, but it's okay. I think the accessories in the official set for her are way better with the guitar. Her leg print is pretty much the same kind of design as the Series 1 Mini, actually, with the same kind of skirt bottom section, and she just has shoes printed in white. And again, the skirt looks really good all the way around with the dot printing, and the head as well is pretty nice. All of this figure works. I think it's less desirable as an individual minifigure than Steamboat Willie, obviously, but compared to the I guess even compared to the version in the Steamboat Willie set, this one is less different and less unique just because, I don't know, the hat on Mickey really gets me there. The difference between these hats are a little bit more subtle. But this isn't a bad figure, it's just not my favorite. Next up we have Huey. Dewey and Louie are also included in the series, but we're just going to start with him first, because you always say Huey, Dewey, Louie. But he is the red one of Donald's nephews, and he was first introduced in a short called Donald's Nephews, released in 1938. But this appearance is more so his DuckTales appearance. I mean, I guess he looks pretty similar in most depictions, but this is his DuckTales appearance. It comes with the Junior Woodchuck guidebook, which is a pretty cool accessory to get here, as well as his compass inside one of the pages. That's just a 1x2 tile stuck into a book, like the new book works, and you can just hold on to that pretty easily. And that's a good accessory. It's the only interesting accessory of the three ducks. And he has the dual molded short legs, which is cool, as well as a duck tail piece, which looks good. His torso is plain red, and his head is a smaller version of the duck head, with the little tuft of hair or feather up there. And he comes with a hat, which is attached via a little mini peg hole, and the heads are the same on the three of the ducks, and they just have different colors for that hat piece. So I'm not going to bother removing it on all of them. Next up we have Dewey, and yeah, it's basically exactly the same as Huey, except different accessory and different color. And it's cool to get, because if you get one, you really need to get them all in order for them to work as characters. I've seen a lot of people complain that they take up a lot of space in the series. 4 of the characters in the series are just ducks from DuckTales. Honestly, I'm really happy that we got these characters. I think that they're cool, and I'm glad that we got them. Dewey, here it comes with a slingshot, but they actually balance it out in the box distribution, as Huey, Dewey, and Louie are each only 2 per case. I saw a lot of people complaining about that, but, I mean, it makes sense. If there's any group of characters that people aren't going to care about getting all of them, probably going to be Huey, Dewey, and Louie, just because they're all so similar. And anyone who doesn't care about the characters in particular probably won't need them all. And maybe they'll get one and they won't care about having the different colors of duck. So, I think that this is a good figure, and I like it. I think the accessory could use a little work, but it isn't even the least interesting accessory of the 3, because Louie just gets a flashlight, and you do get extras of both of the parts that make up the flashlight, as well as, I forgot to mention, you get an extra of the slingshot. And I think I forgot to mention that you also get an extra Minnie's hat. I know, I said I was going to tell you about them, and then I apparently lied. But, yeah, Louie here is also good. I like the green. This is the bright green color, not Legos, just regular green. But, yeah, that's really all to this one. And next up we have Chip and Dale, who we'll see in a second. And Chip and Dale made their first appearance in a short called Private Pluto, released in 1943. And Chip and Dale are some of my favorite Disney characters, and I was really hoping we'd see them in Disney Series 2, and I was really happy when they were revealed. These were the 2 that I went out of my way to find first, and yeah, it's definitely lives up to my expectations. The accessory for Chip here is a little acorn, which is a perfect build for an acorn. The stamp piece you get an extra of, and the bottom section is the what's it called? The thing from Neville's character. The things that scream in Harry Potter. The something root. Yeah, whatever it is. But they just reuse that piece in without any printing, and that works well. And the figure has a new head mold. It's actually different from the one that they used for Dale, which we're going to see in a second, because it's got his tooth molded in. There's a little bit of weird gap around his tooth on the printing for the mouth, but from most angles it doesn't look too bad. And the nose is printed on pretty well. The eyes are printed well. I believe the ears are printed as well. I know this is dual molded between the brown and the tan, but I think that those are just printing up there. And yeah, he looks pretty good. I like the printing on the back of his torso. A lot of people are saying that he kind of needed a new tail piece. I don't know. I feel like this works fine, and it doesn't really bother me too much. As well as we get a new color for medium legs here in regular brown. But yeah, this is a good figure, and probably probably my favorite in the series, Chip and Dale. Yeah, we'll keep going with that as we continue the review. And next up we have Dale, and yeah, he's pretty much the same as Chip, except he has a different head mold, which has a little bit of fur up on the top of his forehead, as well as the molded in 2 teeth. And his red nose is nice and big and works perfectly well. He's done in the sort of light nougaty color, and he comes with a sack in brown, which that's a cool piece, not too common in that color. And he has the printing for the tail. His tail actually faces the opposite direction of Chip's, so slightly different there. And yeah, the printing on the front of his torso is pretty much the same as Chip's, just on a different base, with some slight differences in the ruffling of the fur. But yeah, this is a good figure. I like Chip's design just a little bit more in universe, so I like his figure just a little bit better than Dale's. But both of them are really good, and I'm happy to have both characters here. Next up, we return to the world of characters with regular-sized legs and look at Uncle Scrooge. And Scrooge McDuck made his first appearance in the Christmas on the Bear Mountain comic, and it was in 1947. But this particular figure is specifically based on his appearance in the 1987 DuckTales series, and it's a pretty good-looking figure. He got a new head mold as well as a new hat mold. This new hat mold better be used for Jiminy Cricket in the future. It works perfectly. It's just attached with a mini peg, like they seem to enjoy doing for these Disney animal heads. He comes with a cane, which you get an extra of, as well as his lucky #1 dime, which is the first dime he ever earned. And that is a new print, and you also get an extra piece of that included in the packet. And his torso and legs are pretty good. The torso has some decent printing on the front, if a little simple, and the arms have a little bit of print on either side, a little bit of back print. The coolest thing, though, is that his tail actually is painted around the front and sides in blue, so you can't see it sticking through. Like, for example, with the regular ducks. The fronts are white and it works fine, but with Scrooge that wouldn't work, so they went other way and did something special, and that worked. And, yeah, the printing for his feet is really good. It goes around the sides quite well on both sides, and it just works out really nicely. I think that they did a really great job with this figure. Probably one of the best ones in the series. I personally prefer Chip and Dale, but I think that Scrooge may be better done than them. Better executed, that is. And then we have Jasmine from Aladdin in 1992. And this is one of the few franchises that actually had figures in the first series and now has figures here. And I believe part of the reason for that was because the live-action remake of Aladdin came out this year. So it just made sense. But, this figure is pretty well executed. It's probably my least favorite in the series. Or maybe not my least favorite, but close to. I do really like this bird piece that was introduced in the Disney Princess line, but they reused it here. I wasn't planning on getting the set that it came in, though, so I'm glad it got used here, because it is a nice piece to get. And, it's really not based on any named character, named bird, or anything. It's just supposed to be bird. And the other interesting thing about this figure is that this is the only Disney princess that's been made so far that doesn't get a new hair mold. She actually just straight up reuses the Disney princess version again, which is fine. It works really well here. It is a sort of rubbery piece, which, that's fine. And, it looks good, though. And she has a little bit of arm printing, which makes sense. And the flesh tone on her torso actually works out pretty well. It's not perfect, but it works. And she does have a new face. She's the only human character to not have an alternate expression. She's not the only one. She's the only one who could have an alternate expression that doesn't, I guess is what I should say. Because Frozone and Jack Skellington don't, but that's because they don't have any headgear to cover it up. But yeah, this figure is good. It's not my favorite, but it definitely recreates the character pretty well. It's just less interesting as it is a figure that we've gotten in mini doll form several times. But Jafar, I think, is really well executed. I think they did a great job with this figure. The headgear piece is a new mold, and it looks awesome. I really like how they got the sort of shine to the jewel in his turban thing. He comes with the staff thing that was introduced with the Series 2 Pharaoh and the Pharaoh's Quest theme. I think both of those came out around the same time. The torso print is good, a little simple. His cape is nice. It's the dual-sided cape material, and he's got some good printing on the back. They actually print all that black on there, which is nice. He uses the Ninjago Legacy skeleton shoulder pads, which is pretty interesting. And his face just has an interesting art style, but it really works for his character. And his alternate expression too. Both work pretty well, especially when framed up by this new headgear piece. Next up, from 1993's Nightmare Before Christmas, we have Jack Skellington, and this is a pretty good looking figure as well. It was pretty obviously we were going to get one in Disney Series 2 as soon as they made these as brickheads before they were represented in minifigure form. But his accessory here is a nice box with printing all the way around. It reuses the Party Boy and Girls present accessory from Series 18, and it's just got a tile on the top. You open up the box, and inside are these two printed snowflake tiles. They're actually unique, representing that all snowflakes are unique. That's cool to see. And you actually get an extra piece of each one of those snowflakes. So 4 snowflakes per Jack Skellington figure. So if you wanted a bunch of snowflakes, I guess that's a good way to go. But the printing on this figure is really well done. They've got the stripes going all throughout. He has the cloth cape piece, which looks pretty good. It's cut up so that it is a little bit asymmetrical. But yeah, the stripes look really great, especially on the arms and the sides of the legs, and it just carries across really well. He gets this new shoulder armor piece to get that bat bow tie kind of thing, and his face just looks really good as well. Obviously no back printing on it, but the front of it looks great. This is a really well done figure as well. And then we have Sally, who's decently well done as well. She has a new hair mold as well as a new facial expression. And she also has an alternate facial expression, which is pretty similar, but works. And the printing on her torso and the legs is really good level of detail. However, I've had issues with leg printing. I've actually bought a second one of these. And on the first one that I bought, the hip print was registered really low down. So there's a big gap between the torso and the legs. This one is a little bit better, but this is the second one that I bought. And this one actually has a little bit, there's a little green line going through that pink on the side of the legs. So I will probably end up buying a third eventually, but, just hoping to get some perfect legs. But the flower accessory is cool. You get an extra of both those pieces, so you can make the full assembly. It is just a black flower on a black plant stem thing. And the actual printing on the arms and the legs is really good, though. They went for a really good level of detail here, just was not the best executed, at least on my copy. But, I mean, I don't know. Sally's also not one of my favorite characters individually in the series. Like, Jack is cool, but Sally's kind of whatever in terms of character design. So I think this figure's fine, but, I don't think it's as good as Jack's. And next up we have Hercules, and this is a pretty good figure. It's kind of a surprise choice. It doesn't seem like the most popular Disney character ever. I mean, I would have expected Beauty and the Beast characters before Hercules. But I'm not unhappy about it. I think they did a good job with this figure. I love the printing for the shield. They did a great job with that. And the torso and the leg print is pretty good as well. They did a nice job with this figure. I've got good printing on the sides of the legs. You have a little bit of printing on the arm. And then on this arm here, same printing. He's got this little cape, which is a new cut, I believe, of fabric. And it is a soft fabric, so you can see the torso printing underneath. He does have dual molded legs as well. He has this new hair piece, which is a cool piece. And he also has a nice angry expression as well as his regular smiling expression. And you do get an extra of his sword as well, which is a little bit of a less common mold of sword, so cool to get. And to go with Hercules, we also have Hades. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the reason Hercules is in the series, because this is a really striking and interesting figure. We've got some nice flame pieces in his hands, and he also has a new print and color for the Ghost Rider head, which is really cool. That has the flames molded into the headpiece, or like glued together. So you can't remove them, so he has no alternate expression. But the face print is really cool. I like the torso print as well. He's got a little bit of arm printing on both arms, and that stitching pattern continues across the back of the torso. And then he sort of has this robe that goes straight into his new leg tentacle piece, and this is very reminiscent of Ursula's for sure. But it looks pretty good. It's got a little bit of printing on the front, and it's It's a big piece, easy to feel for. This makes him taller than the others, which works as well. I like this figure a lot. I didn't really grow up watching Hercules. It was just a movie that I hadn't seen until very recently. I think I actually watched it the day the series images were revealed. But this is a really cool looking figure and just probably the most unique in the series. Next up we have Frozone, and this figure was absent from the Incredibles 2 sets, and it was made as a Brickheads, so it was kind of an obvious choice for the same Fs. But that being said, I'm glad that we did get him here. He's got a pretty good design going. He's got the dual molding for the arms and the legs, which, you know, that's nice. His face print is really good. I like the visor there, and you know, it works well. He's got his 2 power blasts. I'm not going to show you how that works because I lost one of the power blasts and had to go out and buy another Frozone because I spent an hour looking for the power blast and couldn't find it. And yeah, so yeah. But this disc piece is the same that was used for the Polka Dot Man from the Lego Batman movie Ultimate Batmobile, and it's just rest on a jumper here so that it can actually attach to the base plate, because it's not designed, like on the bottom it only has a 2x2 section of studs, and the stud will interfere with the curve so that you can't just place it straight on the base plate, so it comes with the jumper. And next up we also have from the Incredibles Edna Mode, and this figure is a little bit of a weird selection, as we already got an Edna Mode minifigure in a polybag that was available as a pre-order bonus with the Lego Incredibles video game. And yes, that one sucked, that figure. And this one is way better, but it almost makes me wish that we just hadn't gotten that other figure. I think they could easily have done Frozone in that polybag, and that would have been much more successful, as well as, you know, it doesn't require any molds. And then we wouldn't have had to get that other bad Edna, and we could have used this slot for another character from Incredibles 2, or from the Incredibles, like Rick Digger or Winston Dever or something. But that being said, this figure is really well done, and I'm not going to judge it based on the existence of another Edna polybag. She comes with a new teacup piece, which, you know, it's cool to get. I think you get an extra of that. And she also comes with, for other accessory, this Edna Mode shopping bag. And that's cool. It's just a 1x2 tile on one of these other pieces. And other than that, her torso print is pretty good. It's based on, I think, her Incredibles 2 outfit, while the polybag was based on her Incredibles 1 outfit. And you could put this head and hair on the polybag and probably make that version look better. But her eyes are actually printed onto her headgear, and underneath she has 2 facial expressions, and I guess if we turn this around you can see what she looks like with a smile. I think both faces look decent, but it starts to look a little weird if you look at any sort of angle because of the fact that the eyes are printed further out than the face. And the last movie to get representation here in Disney Series 2 is Frozen, and we have both Anna and Elsa. Both of these characters have appeared as mini dolls many times in the past, but this is their first appearance in minifigure form. Anna comes with a nice accessory in the form of the lantern from the Harry Potter theme. Nothing new about this. I believe it came in black in other sets, but you know, it is appropriate for this figure for sure. She also comes with a new hair mold, which is pretty good. It's a rubbery piece, so that the pigtails are, yeah, right, that's what they're called. The braids won't bend or break when they bend. And then she has a cape, which is a new cut of fabric, but the printing on her torso is really good, as well as the printing on her new dress slope piece. She has one expression there, and then another winking face on the back. And just a little bit of printing on the back of her torso. I think that this figure is way better than the mini doll versions. I like this a lot, and I'm happy to have it. It's a really good looking figure, but I think Elsa is significantly better. Her accessory is equally kind of whatever. It's just a nice snowflake piece in this nice translite blue color. This isn't exclusive to the set in any way, really, but the design of the figure is really good. I love this hairpiece. This hairpiece is really well done. I think that it works better than Anna's does. Not that Anna's is bad in any way, but this is just really, really nice. And it goes over her shoulders like that. It's got the braid detail. She also has a winking face, so she's got something in common with Anna. I think Anna's winking face makes a little bit more sense, but she also has a nice design on her fabric cape. It's got the shining snowflakes, a little bit of nice printing on the back of her torso as well, and some nice arm printing, which is just a bunch of silver spots, and arm printing is on the other arm as well, and there. It's a little bit bright for that. But the printing on the front of her torso and the dress slope piece all just works really well, and this figure I think is one of the better ones in the series. Overall, I think Disney Series 2 is very well executed. I think that a lot of the figures here are really well done. I think that this series sort of manages to avoid the small issue that a couple of the Disney Series 1 figures ran into. Like Captain Hook and the Genie, where their faces were a little bit weird, just because it didn't exactly get the shaping right, because they're attempting to translate it into a minifigure. I don't think any of the figures in the series really have that problem at all. I think the one figure who has, I guess Hades and Jafar both have distinct face shapes, but I think that this series actually manages to capture both of their faces pretty well. Hercules' face is kind of whatever. It's the same sort of typical shape that's regularly translated into minifigure form. I guess maybe Sally is the worst in terms of face design, but even then, it's not bad at all. Like it works fine. I think my favorites in the series. This is probably because they're some of my favorite characters, Disney characters, is Chip and Dale. I really like those figures. Scrooge is done really well, and I like him a lot too. Jack, I like The Nightmare Before Christmas, but I'm not like a massive fan. But Jack is done really, really well too, and I think Elsa is another one that is particularly noteworthy. I don't think any of the figures are really disappointing here. I guess maybe sort of mini, because I do like the Steamboat Willie set version, but I really like the Steamboat Willie here better than the set as minifigure. And I guess Sally is probably one of the more disappointing ones, and Jasmine is probably a little bit more disappointing than some. But, yeah, I think all of them are well done. Really happy to have this full collection, and I'm glad to be able to expand my set of Disney figures. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys all next time, where we will put all of these and the Series 1 figures into the Disney Castle. Bye, everyone.